Welcome to the fifth episode of Same Page. I am Lenard and Sarah, and this is my lovely wife.
Sarah Simagist. Today should we dive right into it?
Let's just dive right into it, yes.
Okay. Well, today we want to talk about gender roles. So there's a lot of expectations that surrounds gender roles when you are in a relationship. And we want to talk a little bit about our experience with it and how we are navigating through that as our marriage progresses, as we grow together in a relationship, and a little bit of what we used to do when we first got married, and maybe a little bit of where that came from and why we used to do the things that we did before.
Okay. Now, this topic was brought up to us from actually your cousin. Okay. During Thanksgiving, which was last weekend. And it was a very interesting conversation because, like Sarah mentioned, when it comes to gender roles, there's a lot of expectations that people have. And usually those stem from what we grew, like our parents.
Right.
And basically, we both come from Haitian descent. So a lot of it has to do not only from our parents, but also from our culture as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So what is, in our eyes, we'll define what we feel gender roles means, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the things that we want to say. So what do we think gender roles is?
The definition would be mainly the expectation of a man and a woman when it comes to certain either chores or certain odd jobs that they should be doing within the relationship.
That's well defined. And these rules can change based on the culture. So some things that are expected from a man and a woman in a culture might not necessarily be expected in a different culture. So we'll just talk about our experiences in general. But yeah, just like Lenard said, it's mostly like the expectations from the society of what a man and woman should do in a relationship.
Yeah.
So when we first got married, definitely I had some expectations for myself.
So did I.
And I had expectations from Lenard. And some of these expectations, I feel now looking back, stem from what my parents used to do when I was younger. So for example, when we first got married, or even when we just moved in together, I felt that I had to do all the cooking and I had to have dinner ready at a certain time for us to eat at a certain time. And I would kind of stress about it a little bit. So I would rush home from work, make sure that I had a meal prepped and so that we could eat together. But Lenard didn't necessarily have that expectation for me. So it's the stress that I put on myself. But I would get upset if he wasn't home at the time that the meal was ready, or he was home a little bit later. Let's say he came home at 9 o'clock and
which never happened.
Never, of course not. And let's say he came home later than I wanted him to be home that made me upset because I felt like, well, I'm hungry right now. I want to eat, but I want to eat with you. And I rushed from work to prepare this meal, and you're not even appreciating it by being here and sharing this meal with me. So I put all of that pressure on myself, and I don't even think he necessarily had a clue that I did that. And I would just be upset about this expectation that I made up for myself, which is obviously very silly. Did you have any expectations for yourself?
No, even though Sarah had all those expectations on herself, like she mentioned, I never imposed those expectations. But at the same time, in the back of my head, I grew up seeing my mom doing most of the cooking. My father would prep sometimes, and then when it came to cleaning, it was a shared task between both of them. But when it came to going back to the cooking, in all honesty, I had certain expectations that Sarah would do most of the cooking. Even though that was never vocalized, it was still an expectation that I had. Mainly because even though I can cook and I don't mind cooking at all, but I always thought that as being a woman's role to cook, only because I saw that growing up, and in my culture, it's rare you see a man in the kitchen.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know some men who cook, but you're right. Like it's mostly the woman who cooks in our family, in my family as well. What about cleaning? Did you have any expectations in regards to cleaning?
When it came to cleaning, I had no expectations. I was hoping that, hopefully that we'd be on the same page in the sense that when we once we got done our busy work week, for the most part, I grew up cleaning first thing Saturday mornings. You go through your work week, and obviously when I was a kid, you go through your school week, and then come Saturdays, before you watch your Saturday cartoon, before even you had breakfast, it was my parents' expectation on my sister and I that most of our chores would be done in the morning. So I had that mentality going into our marriage, and so my expectations were that we would tackle most of the chores Saturday morning.
Okay. I mean, I didn't even that I don't think cleaning was never really something that crossed my mind in terms of like who should be doing what. I think as the relationship progressed, we kind of fell into our own routine. But I knew that definitely, unlike cooking, I wasn't going to be the person doing all the cleaning.
Yes.
So in my mind, I grew up watching my parents, both of them did some cleaning, and I thought that was going to be the same thing for both of us. So I guess it worked well that you had a similar expectation, I guess.
Exactly. And luckily we kind of fell into, I wouldn't say that necessarily our roles, but kind of fell into just individual tasks, doing our individual tasks.
Just a routine.
Just a routine naturally. I do most of the laundry. Sarah mostly cleans the bathrooms. When it comes to vacuuming, that's kind of basically split.
And I think I gravitated towards the things that I didn't hate the most. I mean, I don't necessarily like cleaning the bathroom, but it has to be done. But for some reason, I hate vacuuming. So it would be like the last thing that I would touch. And I guess seeing that, I was doing some of the cleaning in the bathrooms, Leonard would just gravitate more towards vacuuming, for example. And that just kind of became a routine, and it's still stuck till this day, and it works. One thing that I do find and I do appreciate is that if I find that Len is very busy, I will pick up on the things that he quote unquote is supposed to do or has been doing, and vice versa. So if I'm away or I have a busy couple of weeks, busy month or whatnot, then I see that without even me saying anything, he picks up some of the slack that I'm not able to do. So I guess that in regards to that in a relationship, it works well. Like we're both aware that the house needs to be clean, etc. And we're very aware that it's not always the case, but for that aspect at least we can kind of agree on.
Exactly. And I think one more thing that's at least unique to our situation, and also what I'm very grateful for, is the fact that we have a certain standard on how I guess a house should be upkept.
Yes.
So like we won't go, obviously weeks on end without taking care of some necessities. Mainly obviously keeping the kitchen relatively clean, keeping the bathrooms clean. Those are very key chores that need to be done on a weekly basis.
What else? What else did I have? I think I had some expectations of you doing a lot of the fixing in the house, or putting up furniture, or if something broke, then you fix it. Not that I didn't enjoy doing that, because I actually do like building and fixing things, but I grew up seeing my dad doing those things. My dad is an engineer, and he just enjoyed doing these things, I guess. But it's not, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not necessarily something that you enjoy doing.
Exactly, and you're right. That's like, because I don't consider myself a handyman. I never saw my father being all too handy, but he tried his best. And I guess without seeing that example, for me, I never gravitated towards that. And I never really had an interest to be that handy either. Now, mind you, being a homeowner, you're kind of forced to do certain odd jobs, and it's not every time that you'll call either a plumber or an electrician or some kind of handyman to come fix your problem. So you do have to kind of dive into certain things, but when the problem gets a little too big, that's when you you call the professionals.
And it also saves you a lot of money if you learn to do a few things on your own. But it's interesting because I feel like some of the things that needed to be fixed, I could fix them, or I didn't mind fixing them, but I felt like it was Len's job, so I didn't fix them, and I got upset when he didn't. And I'd be like, well, this is sitting there for, has been sitting there for a long period of time. And I don't know if I would express that to you. I think eventually I learned to just say, like, can you please do this for me, please? And also give a time frame, but that's another whole story.
That's a whole other topic.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think now that I think back, if it was something that I was able to fix and I was capable of doing it, then I don't understand why I didn't do it. I think I had this idea of what the male role was, that it stopped me from doing certain things that were, that I could easily find a solution for. So looking back, I feel that I'm glad that we kind of we're past those gender roles, and we kind of, juggle along the way.
Exactly. And that's a very good segue to, like, as far as like the pitfalls of having gender roles, and it's mainly having those false expectations for your partner, and also unfair expectations for your partner, especially if you haven't had that discussion on either what you enjoy doing, what you expect your significant other to do, and then also, there's just certain things that are unpleasant, that just need to be done.
Yeah.
And
they take longer, and more patience.
Yeah, exactly.
To do. It just makes you have these unrealistic expectations when the reality itself is much easier. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I like to be more handy and you don't, why are we thinking about gender roles at all? Why don't I just do the stuff that I enjoy doing, and you do the stuff that you enjoy doing, and the things that we both don't enjoy doing, let's just flip a coin, right? Yeah. So I think in general that stops us from really, just for one, choosing the thing that comes more naturally to us, and secondly, the things that's just easier. Like, it's just, why does it have to be the certain way that it used to be, in the past? Right?
Yeah, good point.
I actually have an example of how gender roles can stop us from doing the things that we want to do, and also kind of instill fear. So last year, there needed to be some painting done, mostly painting and just putting up some blinds and just little stuff in the house that if you grab a ladder, it's not hard. You just follow the instructions and you just do it. And I felt that the window frame needed to be painted, but from the outside. So I just got a ladder, climbed on the ladder. It was, during the summer. And I started painting. But in my mind, I was a little bit afraid what neighbors would think, or passerbyers would think, because of, I know most people had met Len, the neighbors had met Len. So they knew I had a partner. And I felt that they would think that, why is the woman doing this job, climbing on a ladder, painting and fixing these things, when she has a husband? So I had that fear in my mind without really voicing it. And I was just going about my business, but I kind of like looked over my shoulder here and there. And long and behold, a neighbor came home, and he's like, "What are you doing on that ladder, young lady? Where's your husband? And how come this is dangerous for you? And do you want me to hold this ladder? Would you like me to help?" And he was nice, but I felt that, why is it such a big deal that I'm painting this frame? And I know Len doesn't really enjoy doing these kind of things, and I don't mind, and I have the time right now, and this is a partnership. So, and I don't know if it's me who projected this fear onto reality, and then this actually came true.
Manifested. I think it was mainly you projecting.
Well, I projected, but the fact that it came reality and somebody actually said something, I was kind of baffled. So it kind of reinforced the fact that those gender roles are very well ingrained in society.
Yes,
and
very much so.
Yes, and I didn't like that, and I was just like, I'm well capable of doing this, so I kind of rushed through my work, and then I went inside and finished everything else. But that's just one example that I felt that, like, I mean, why does it matter to you? Like, I'm safe, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and just because I'm a female, and yeah, anyway, that's a little bit of a little story that I had to tell.
Yeah. So basically, what we do right now, and it's funny because like we've never really had a firm discussion of the chores and the roles and our certain expectation that we had, but we kind of, luckily for us, we just kind of fell into those roles. So basically, what I do around the house, I mainly do I do all the laundry, and then when it comes to we both share the cooking.
Yeah, so depending on
exactly
what kind of week,
what kind of schedule that we have.
Yeah, so if Len has a busier week, then I take up the cooking for the week, and vice versa. But actually, lately, who's been doing more of the cooking?
This guy.
Yeah, I've been crazy busy, so I do most of my cooking on the weekends, and Len takes over
during the week.
Yeah. So
mainly because I'm usually here at home before she is, and then she has her clients after work, and then so I have a little gap between the time I get home from work and I go to my training or whatever activity I have in the evening. So I picked up a couple extra shifts in the kitchen, and then I also do a lot of the stuff outdoors when it comes to with winter coming. I'll do most of the shoveling. I do all the lawn mowing and all that stuff.
All the shoveling.
I
look at him from the window of a bedroom and just wave
in the warmth
and say,
in the comfort.
Do you need anything? Are you okay out there in the cold? So actually, those outdoor chores, I guess you could say that we do fall into those gender roles because Len picks up the lawn mowing, shoveling, taking out the garbage, all that stuff. It's not that I don't want to do it necessarily, but I think he just does it. So
yeah, and like I just gravitate to those chores.
Yeah.
So I don't really mind for me, kind of like a little funny thing is like the whole shoveling is like my winter activity since I don't really ski or skate or do anything in the wintertime.
I think we're gonna have to change that.
Winters
are very long.
I'm good. I'll stick to my shoveling.
What else? So you talk about laundry. You do all the laundry.
Yeah.
The cleaning. Oh, go ahead.
No, and then like that's mainly because I noticed that when we first got together, Sarah has so much clothes, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much clothes, but she can go through an array of clothes a long period of time. So for her, she could do laundry every 2.5, 3 weeks.
Probably.
And
don't put all my business on there.
It's just the truth. And for me, since I do a couple of activities during the week, like I can't, like I just can't go past the week without doing some laundry.
I don't think you can pass 2 days.
No. Like maybe at least a solid 5 to 7 days.
Okay, if you say, but I am grateful because all my clothes, they go in the laundry and they come back smelling clean and folded. All I have to do is put them away, and I'm very grateful for that. I appreciate it. Please don't stop.
I won't stop.
Cleaning, I think, just like we said, it's something that just we share the cleaning.
Yeah.
We've never really had that discussion who takes on what.
No.
But I mean, if we do in the future, and if somebody gets frustrated, definitely we will. But for the time being, whatever we're doing works.
Yeah. And plus, we both know when the house needs some cleaning, and even if I'm in actually the other week, Sarah was talking about that we need to clean on the weekend, and I was fully aware that we needed to, but after the week that I was having, I knew I wanted to relax on the weekend, so I tried to do all of my chores, or at least some of the cleaning, beforehand, because at the end of the day, like, last thing you want to do is create resentment when you see one person doing the cleaning while the other person is either watching TV or doing something else. For us, it's never been an issue, but at the same time, I could see how that can build resentment, especially if it happens often.
Yeah, and I think with anything, when you're either have long days at work and the other person's at home, or you're cleaning and this person's relaxing. With anything that you feel like you're doing more, you could always have resentment. And I think as long as there's a balance, actually, one thing that the priest at our wedding said is that it's not, marriage is not 50-50. Sometimes it's 80-20, and sometimes I'm the 80% and he's the 20, sometimes vice versa. So you can't resent the person for if at that moment they're not working as hard as you are, as long as, you know, in the end, maybe it's somewhat balanced, but if you don't feel like it is, then talk about it.
Exactly.
Bring up the topic, because the other person might not even think it's an issue.
Exactly.
If they feel that you're always doing the cleaning and the cooking and you're never saying anything, they might think you enjoy that. So communication is always key.
As per usual. All
right.
So with that said, when it comes to gender roles, a lot of times they stem from what you grow up seeing with your parents, and also there's a factor of the culture that you grew up in as well, and then these expectations they can lead to certain pitfalls, but there's ways to overcome those just by having that discussion with your partner, and also just doing things that you actually want to do. Yeah, and just because something was done a certain way in the past, it doesn't mean that you have to do it the same way. Exactly. Just do whatever works for you and your partner, and talk about it so that you're on the same page. Exactly. And with that said, that's it for this episode of Same Page. So next time, like, share, let us know what else you would like us to talk about. But I think we have a couple of good topics for the future. Yes, we do. All right. Till next time. Okay. Bye.